Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Level Up Mental Health. I'm your host, Swizz here. Got a solid video here. We're going to be talking about relate to accumulating positives and reviewing pleas. In my previous video, if you check it out, and I think it was a couple weeks ago or something like that was uploaded, we talked about looking at one of the acronyms here. And as I said, there's always a crap ton of acronyms to review here in mental health and psychology and things of that nature. One of the ones to really kind of look at is being able to kind of do the things that we need to do in order, kind of reminding yourself of the basic needs, essentially, is what I'm saying, right? So, with that acronym, I'll kind of get to kind of the skill here, and we'll talk about how that can kind of interact with the main topic here about accumulating positives and kind of reminding yourself of these things that we can do, right? So let's take a look here at our little worksheet. So the acronym we're reviewing again is PLEASE. And the reason why we're taking a look at this is because ultimately it's just a good reminder to be able to help us know that we need to take care of our body, right? PLEASE is all about taking care of our body to make sure we can enjoy pleasant things, to accumulate these positives that we're seeking. So quickly kind of going through this, please, for the acronym. The first one is treating physical illness, balance eating, avoid mood altering substances, balance sleep, getting exercise. All these things can really contribute to us enjoying these positive experiences that we're looking for. Now, if we get to the very top here, we're going back to that DBT scale of emotional intensity. And the reason why this is included is because we're going to be kind of focusing on this blue zone area here, the emotion regulation, because what's important is that if you're trying to do some of these when you're in a crisis state, it's going to be very hard to do that. Okay. So the goal is that we're trying to really work on doing things to help with our ability to regulate emotions. We're in that kind of lower state of emotional intensity that we're in. So if we look here, again, we're trying to decrease the frequency of unwanted emotions, decrease the emotional suffering that we're going through. And we're hoping that being able to kind of accumulate the positives can lead us to reduce that intensity that we're experiencing. Now, what does it mean, right? So accumulating positives essentially is, imagine, I don't know, it's kind of well, it's on point for our group here. Imagine you're Pac-Man, right? And your goal is to kind of swallow up the little balls, which are positive experiences, kind of positive emotions that we're trying to get, right? Now, how do we do that? Yes, we move forward to them. We're able to kind of get to them, right? But what's important is that we need to do those things that we feel we have an interest in, right? Being able to identify those things that we enjoy, that we're wanting to doing, and especially if we're feeling we're having a hard time, we'll kind of get there in a sec. But being able to really just kind of know, like, okay, like we can get these kind of emotions to feel better if we can kind of be into these particular environments, right? Now, obviously, again, in order to kind of get there, taking care of our body is key, and making sure we're not in a crisis is key to do that as well too. So certain things that we can kind of build our positive experiences, being able to increase our pleasant events, open up the opportunities for those, doing one thing each day from pleasant events list, right? So if you can think of something that does accumulate a positive that you're looking for, try to do one thing. This is a tough one too. Practice opposite action. Avoid avoiding, right? So if you feel like, oh, I just want to lay in bed all day today, right? What's the opposite action? Well, let's get up and go outside, especially for, now that we're in the summer months here. If we can try to kind of encourage that motivation within ourselves to do that, that's going to be the key there to, bring into these positive experiences that we're trying to get. Be mindful is key as well too. We want to focus on that task because that's really going to get the best benefit from that going forward. Being mindful of these positive experiences, being able to kind of focus the attention, think about the impact that this positive event is having onto you, and really engage and participate in it fully to get the true benefits of it. Ultimately, too, we want to be mindful of the worries that may kind of come across, right? So when a positive experience ends, when we deserve this positive experience, how much more might be expected of you now? So kind of think about that worry, right? Like if that worry or stress kind of comes into mind of, are you deserving of this? Do you need this right now? think about where that may kind of come from, right? So where is that coming from in order for, that may prevent your ability to accumulate these positives? And if we can identify that, it might help us be able to, maybe delete the barrier that we're trying to get there in regards to the positives that we're trying to achieve. So here's our big list that we have here of pleasant events. Now it's pretty massive. It's a little outdated. I think this is from like 2015 or whatever. But there's certain things where it's like creating a mixtape or things of that nature, which you can still do, with CDs and stuff like that. If you know what CDs are, if you don't, might want to Google it. But what's nice about having like this massive list of pleasant events, and there's like 200 something things here, right? Is that we often may have difficulty of thinking about things that we can do, of what we can kind of consider a pleasant event, right? So if we're able to maybe look at a list here of, and if you kind of Google pleasant events list, something like this might kind of pop up. We can be able to kind of look at certain things that we feel may bring that ability for us to accumulate the positives. And at the end of the day, too, right, we're trying to kind of reduce the intensity of the emotion that we may be experiencing. So certain things like buying clothes, working, playing hockey, things of nature, you really want to find what's in your wheelhouse, right? And if you feel that there's something you would used to enjoy, but may have a hard time enjoying it now, think of what you think the barrier is for that, right? And it could be related to mental health or kind of the state of the events. And what do you think are the things you need to maybe enjoy that activity again, right? So for like me personally, I found like a real big resurgence into playing Magic the Gathering, right? Like I never had thought that I would kind of get back into it. I played it like Magic Arena back in 2020, and now I started buying cards for that as well too. I never would have thought that would have been something to kind of get back into. But it's a nice little, accumulating positive that I'm trying to have because, I know it's something that I used to enjoy, especially like when I was a kid playing that. So it's been nice to do that and having kids of my own to kind of hopefully maybe teach that to them is something that I'm looking forward to. So think of the things that you feel, again, that would be helpful to you to really just kind of accumulate those positives after you've been able to kind of address maybe the physical, barriers are kind of come into play, like as we were just showing here, the physical illness, the balance eating, things of that nature. The sleep is a big one as well too. And those are kind of good in the short term. Now, when we're looking at the long term, it can be very hard to kind of do that because again, we may have difficulty finding, what is a life worth living for this as well too. So a few kind of steps we can kind of do to help us get to the ability of having kind of those long terms is really key. So, for the first one, obviously the avoiding, right? We kind of talked about this already, but it can be hard, right? Currently working with individuals for OCD, we call it kind of the avoidance in that sense as well as that particular safety behavior, right? Like you don't want to be either in that difficult, feeling or discomfort that you're kind of in that there. So try to kind of do the things like opposite action to counter for having those thoughts or feelings related to avoiding. Step 2, identify the values that are important to you, right? This is what's going to be important in the driving force to have these long-term, positive effects for it all, right? What are the values for you that are important to you, right? What's going to help you achieve the value that you have within you, kind of like at your core, and what's going to be an activity that's going to help you reach there, right? Being able to think those things is going to be key to really build it for the long term. Step 3, identify one value to work on now. It's always best, again, just kind of focus on one for the time being, and then from there, we can kind of work on the others, right? Sometimes we feel we might be just bouncing too many plates. So just focus on the one plate at a time to kind of get where you want to get to. Step 4, identify a few goals related to this value. So they have the one here of being productive. Okay, so what does it look like to be productive? What are the goals that you need to reach there? Well, the examples they have here, getting a job, being more active, finding volunteer, all kind of relate to the value of being productive. Step 5, choose one goal to work on now. So let's say the goal you want to work on is to getting a job where something can be useful, right? Because that fits the value of being productive that this person is trying to achieve. Step 6, identify small action steps towards your goal. certain things of like, okay, so we want to get a job. What are some things we need to do in order to do that? Well, we can submit applications, we can go on Indeed, we can visit places with job openings, kind of go from there. All great strategies to help us to be able to reach that kind of ultimate goal that we have there. Last one here, take one action step now. So being able to really, try to kind of jump into that aspect there is key. So hopefully, this is a helpful way to do that, to be able to really just, again, accumulate those positives, accumulate the ability to build it upon yourself and to go from there. So hopefully this is helpful. If you're watching YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe. Otherwise, check you in the next video.